Hello everybody, welcome to History of Money. Professor Barth here, history professor at Arizona State University. Lecture 19, we're more than halfway through the course. Thanks for hanging in there. Today we're going to just very quickly survey what was happening worldwide in the 19th century. In lecture 18 we took a look at the adoption of the gold standard in Europe. Now let's take a look at the silver standard outside of Europe with a couple important exceptions. Part A, India. Part B, we'll take a look at China, Persia, and Latin America. And in Part C, we'll take a look at Japan and the Ottoman Empire. So you'll recall in 19th century Europe, the gold standard is by the 1860s has been fully established through most of the continent, with central banking adopted in most European countries. Silver is still utilized for small change, but otherwise this is a gold economy. Outside of Europe, we have a different story, and silver dominates in most non-European countries. In India, of course, which we will address in this video today, in Persia, in Latin America, in the African colonies, silver coins and token coinage is established by the European powers for use in those colonies. Let's take a look at India. Here's a map of India just on the eve of the Sepoy Rebellion, 1857. Now, for more than 3 centuries, a Persian Islamic dynasty ruled over much of the subcontinent of India, called the Mughal Empire, the Mughal dynasty. The Mughals were the ones who constructed the Taj Mahal, and the Mughals also established, as we discussed in a previous lecture, this new unit of account, the rupee, a silver coinage with Persian and Islamic messages and iconography featured on many of the coins. In fact, this Mughal coin here on top communicates the main Islamic creed, the Islamic declaration of faith, that there's only one God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the prophet of Allah. And so you can imagine for a lot of Indian people who were Hindu, how this coinage was objectionable, and how there was, in fact, a lot of opposition to Mughal rule within India. And in fact, a rival state, or more accurately confederacy, emerged beginning in the late 17th century into the early 19th century, called the Maratha Confederacy. And the Marathas were a loosely organized group of Hindu warrior princes who combated and went to war on several occasions against the Mughal Empire for supremacy in India. And then before I get to that, there's a Maratha coinage. So just different symbols communicated on a coin versus the Mughals. And then the third power in the region, a growing power, of course, is the British East India Company. And the British East India Company more and more begins assuming governmental powers. It has its own private army, its own judiciary. It dominates trade along the coast of the Bay of Bengal and along the coast of the Arabian Sea. And especially after the mid-18th century, there was a major battle in 1757 in Bengal called the Battle of Plassey that was integral to consolidating East India Company's support over that area of India. The East India Company gradually buys the loyalty of different Indian princes who essentially negotiate deals with the East India Company, giving the company a lot of powers. Those powers that the company assumes, many of them are typical hallmarks of sovereignty: taxation, economic regulations, trading privileges, and whatever city or region or principality you're speaking of, and coinage as well. And in fact, the East India Company will coin its own money and secure a monopoly over coinage in most areas of India by the 1830s. This is a map of India. The one on the left in 1765, it's a little hard to tell the green from the yellow. But the area in the pink are areas controlled effectively by the East India Company. This is after the Battle of Plassey, so the East India Company has firm control here in Bengal. Calcutta, major port on the Bay area. And then by 1805, company rule has extended even further. You have the Marathas and the Mughals, but their territory is gradually shrinking. By 1835, the British established a uniform coinage through most of India. They retained the rupee unit of account. Now, feature on this coin was the King of England, a very weak and frankly unpopular king in England, William IV. Not very memorable king. Certainly not as well loved as Queen Victoria, who succeeded him. But his face is featured on his coin in India. Imagine if you are an Indian at this time in the 1830s and you come across these silver coins, and on the front of the coin is a picture of the King of England. Right? What sort of message is that communicating to you? Again, one of the themes that we keep returning to over and over again in this course is the importance of symbols and iconography and money. It's one of the reasons why the state, or in this case a private corporation, desires a monopoly over the coining or creation of money. You'll also notice this on this rupee, the year 1835, and it doesn't say British India on it because India at this point is not a colony of Britain. It says East India Company, so a private company. India, during this time, we call this the period of company rule. It's not a formal colony, but it's a situation, again, in which this mega corporation, this giant corporation, assumes control, de facto control over some of the most important areas of India. And also, the first banks are founded in India around this time, in the early 19th century. These banks are run by British administrators, not Indian administrators, although they might have some lower level management positions or clerks filled by Indians. But the first of these banks is the Bank of Bengal in 1806. Actually, the original name was the Bank of Calcutta, and then they renamed it 3 years later to the Bank of Bengal, with its headquarters in Calcutta. By the way, I skipped over this image here. So here we have East India Company, and then later this is a coin from 1888, after India had become a formal British colony, which occurs in 1858. And here you'll see it says Empress Victoria. Queen Victoria declared herself to be the Empress of India. And so even this coin right here communicates a different idea than even this coin. This coin here, we got a really powerful corporation that's established firm control over India and it has the endorsement of the British Crown. Here, this is just direct control by the Crown, which has now established India as a formal colony. Back to the bank. And so the Bank of Bengal was founded in 1806, and they issue banknotes redeemable on demand in rupees. The Bank of Bengal actually was originally founded in order to finance British military expeditions by the Duke of Wellington in India against the Maratha Confederacy. And warfare is expensive. The army needed some financing. And so, in fighting the Maratha Confederacy, the Bank of Bengal extended the requisite capital. Then in 1840, on the western coast of India, along the Arabian Sea, the Bank of Bombay is founded. Bombay today is called Mumbai. And this bank, too, issued notes. Here's a 10 rupee note, or the Bank of Bombay. Finally, in 1858, the British government established direct control over India. We call this period from 1858 to 1947 the British Raj, or British rule. Raj meaning rule in Hindi. And the defining moment in 1858 was the Sepoy Rebellion. It was a major rebellion. Actually, the East India Company got a lot of the blame for that rebellion. The rebellion was put down, but in the aftermath, the East India Company was dissolved, and the British Crown assumed direct control. And now it's a formal colony. And again, the coinage reflects that. This is a coin issued shortly after that rebellion. No mention of a company. This is a British colony now. Again, they retained the unit of account that was used by the Mughals. And one of the policy positions of the British government in India was to overvalue silver. So you're not going to find, at least often, gold coin used in India. The policy overvalues silver on purpose so that silver would be the dominant medium of exchange, the dominant coin, together with these banknotes in India. But even these competing banknotes, the Bank of Bombay and the Bank of Bengal, in 1861, the Paper Currency Act of 1861 is passed by Parliament, and this establishes the government monopoly, a British government monopoly, of all paper currency note issue in India from that point forward. So after 1861, the British government now, the government of India, assumes total control over the paper currency as well. And these paper currencies promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of 20 rupees. Here's a 1,000 rupee note. Government of India, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of 1,000 rupees. Calcutta, 1883. All right, so that covers India. For part B, we're going to take a look at China, and we'll also briefly look at Persia and Latin America. See you for part B of lecture 19.